If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths, and sometimes heights, to ensure the power is always flowing. Which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When a toddler vanishes and the timeline smells like lies, the FBI brings the heat. Leilani Simone, a mother accused of tossing her own son in a dumpster, goes from deflective to explosive in one of the most gut-wrenching interrogations you'll ever see. This is not a breakdown. This is a full-on meltdown. If you're looking for cold-blooded, you're about to find it right here. Let's get into it.
All right, does this document tell you when this search was conducted?
Yes.
And when was it conducted?
October 1st of 2022 at 1:10 a.m.
And it says on here that the source is Safari.
Yes.
What is Safari?
An internet browser.
And can you read into the record the text of that search?
Yes. Is it common for a mother to have resentment or even anger towards her child because of the father or another reason?
Now that said, I will go back to State's Exhibit 22 and publish this.
Sometimes situations, listen to me, Leilani, sometimes situations happen and it's not meant, right? And people have situations that get in where they don't know what to do and they panic, right? And the night that before Quentin disappeared, right, you had a rough day, right?
I was taken out. I had drugs and that's just like I was living.
Right. So your mom was free. That's stressful, right? You had your wisdom teeth taken out. You're hurting in pain, right? You still got to cook dinner for the kids. My understanding, you and Danny aren't getting along that night either, right? And sometimes people just get frustrated, right? And we do rash things, right? And things happen that we didn't mean to happen, right? And then we don't know how to deal with that, and we panic. And I know you know what happened.
I don't know what
And I know you know where Quentin is.
I don't know where he is.
Right?
I don't know where he
And
is.
here's why I know, right? Because the story that you already told law enforcement, that you've got that story in your mind, and you've been rehearsing it quite a while. I mean, you were like spot on what you told the other people, right? And we've already analyzed data. Your 360, right? Your cell phone data, right? Where you've been, right? And there's inconsistencies who you talk to, right?
No.
Okay.
Not that I'm into it.
Okay. All right. So we know you didn't go to the Chevron station.
And that was on the Life 360. It shows where I pulled in and turned around.
No, you didn't. But we know where you went.
It shows where I pulled in and
We
turned around.
know where you went because we have video surveillance.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay. And it's not where the Chevron is.
It is. The Chevron is right next to
No,
his area.
Leilani. Well, stop.
I mean, seriously, the Chevron is right next to his
Leilani,
area.
stop. You've gone off this story for a while now, and I know it's not true.
It is.
Leilani,
That's where I went.
look, we're not going to make any progress
I
unless
understand,
you're
Jersey.
truthful
I'm
and honest.
being truthful. This is Chevron.
No.
This is Zelia. That's where I pulled into. And I turned around. I was only gone for 12 minutes. And my baby was in that bed when I left that house.
Leilani, calm down. We're not getting anywhere, right? We're going to get to the bottom of this,
Yes.
right? But you have to be honest.
I'm being honest.
We know through video surveillance you were not at that Chevron, but we do know where you were at.
I pulled into that Zelia and I stopped around.
She was making a reference there to what she had told you and Special Agent Snyder on the 5th, right?
Yes.
And what is she saying she had told you?
That it was right next to the Chevron
The place that she met
that she
Misty?
went to. Yes.
Is that what she told you on the 5th?
It is not.
What did she tell you on the 5th?
She told us that she met Misty at the Chevron, and she wrote it in her written statement.
More than once, right?
Yes.
And that was stopped at 3 minutes into the file, which is 12:32:40 on the timestamp in the bottom left corner of the video.
Pulled in, got the order, turned around, and went back home.
And how did you turn around?
Pulled straight around the neighborhood.
What neighborhood?
The one right next to Chevron, it's Azalea, right next to it.
Azalea? And
Yes.
what kind of neighborhood is that?
It's a trailer park.
It's a trailer park?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were in the trailer park, you pulled right back out?
Yes, I pulled it in and I pulled it out.
Okay, so why does video surveillance show you stopping
Stopping to get the order job.
within the trailer park?
Getting the order job.
You're not near the Chevron?
No, she lives near the Chevron. Pulled in,
Who is she?
Misty, the one who gave me, I gave her as much information
Well,
as I could on her.
let's talk about that, okay? Because Misty hadn't talked to you.
Yeah, she has.
She hasn't talked to you in quite some time.
Yeah, she
And
has.
she did not have a conversation with you about the origin.
Yes.
So in your mind, you've looked at all these timestamps and plausibly you came up with a story that's partly true.
No, that is
But
true.
there's very, very many missing pieces, right? And in your story, you haven't been completely honest about where you were at and why you were there.
I was 100% honest about where I was at. I showed the Life 360. I told him I even gave him the order gel that she gave me.
Right, and that didn't happen. We've already interviewed this.
I got the order gel. That did happen. She got that lump inside her mouth. And that's the reason why I asked her for it.
You have to stop saying this. It did not happen.
Yes, it did.
Right? And Lonnie, right? To get through this, you're gonna have to talk about what happened
I'm told
and where
everybody
you took
what happened.
and where you took Quentin.
I didn't take Quentin anywhere.
Okay?
I didn't take him anywhere. He was at the house. He was in that bed. I was just here at the station before I went to bed. The only thing that I sit there and possibly blame myself on is when I came back in after I smoked a cigarette that I may not have shut that door all the way. And that's why my baby may have gone somewhere. That's the only thing I've been questioning myself about. I was sleepy, had drugs in my system. I couldn't even feel my mouth. So I don't know if I locked that door and pushed it all the way in, but it was open when I got up. And I'm sticking to everything that I've said because I'm telling the truth. I
So
questioned
let's talk
everything.
about the door. The door was closed when you
No, that's what they say, but the door was open. And Danny said that when he left, that the door,
Right.
that door that they said was open from 2:30 to 5:44 was shut when he left. I think my system is messed up. And that's what I told them, because that door was open when I got home and my baby was not in that bed.
Lonnie, the door wasn't open.
Yes, it was.
And look,
Yes, it was. The door was open.
you said like you would never hurt or harm
No,
Quentin.
no, I wouldn't.
And in this circumstance, something happened,
No,
right?
no, I did not. Nothing happened when he was in my care. I did not hurt him. I did not take him anywhere. I went to bed with that baby in that bed and I got up with him gone. Okay?
Okay.
I am devastated. I've seen him being questioned. Now that last night my own husband was questioning me, making me question myself. Well, did you shut that door? Are you sure you're not the reason that something could have happened? I mean, it's all stuff like that.
Well, you keep telling yourself this story over and over. We're done with that story, right? And you can keep trying to convince yourself, but the evidence does not point to that, right? You've tried to put a timeline together to cover up
I didn't try to put nothing together. I had
what
to
happened that night, and you're the only one that can tell us what happened.
I've told
And you said you
everything
told
that I
me.
know. Like, I didn't even
Listen,
remember when
Leilani.
he was shaking me.
Leilani, listen to me. You told me how you felt when you and your mom were abandoned on the side of the road, right?
I was devastated. I was lost. I was scared.
Right? So as a mother, look, we just want to find Quentin,
Yes,
right?
we do. We all do. I've been asking help, searching everything.
And they have been. They're still out there searching, right? But you can help us find him, right? I 100% believe that. You can help us find
He
him.
was in the bed when I went
Okay.
to sleep.
So when you left and you drove through the trailer park and you stopped for a while,
I didn't stop for a while.
you said you wanted to be healthy.
I do.
Right?
That's why I've done everything that I can, and I don't know where my baby is. Okay, I don't know.
Right. So.
I did not hurt him, and I don't know where he's at. He was in that bed when I woke up.
So, you know, what we do know is that when you pulled into the trailer park, you stopped, right? I can't imagine what was going through your mind at that time, right? Where you were trying to make a decision.
No, I stopped for, like, I was gone from the house for a total of 12 minutes. I stopped for 2 minutes, and I was getting the ordeal from her.
Right.
Pulled around, and there she was.
You didn't see Misty.
Yes, I did.
You stopped for 2 minutes, so in that 2 minutes, you weren't getting ordeal for Misty.
Yes.
I know you were sitting there thinking about what you were going to do with Quentin.
No, I was not.
Because something had already happened.
No, it was not. That baby was in that bed when I went to bed. Danny seen him when he left to go to work. Okay? So no, he was home. He was in that bed. He was asleep.
Right. And we both know that's not true.
He is true. He was home.
Yeah.
He was in, even Danny. Even he said he seen him before he went to work. So I don't understand how that could not be true, or how I could have done something to him. Like, what? Wanted something in the morning? That's literally physically impossible when he was seen that morning.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
I don't know her, my baby.
So Danny told us that he can't 100% confirm that he actually saw Quentin in the crib that morning.
So he told me that he 100% said he seen him.
He's told us that he cannot say that. Right?
He was in that bed.
And that's different than the first night, right? That you guys talked to police, because you put that in your statement.
Yeah, so that he told me 100% that he seen him that morning.
He cannot 100% say that he saw Quentin that morning. And so that leaves another hole in your story, right?
No, that's what he told me. That he got up when I called him and screaming and yelling, "Where's my baby?
I'm telling you
Where's my
right now,
baby?"
that's not the case. Because we know that you know what happened to
I
him,
do not know what happened to
Leilani,
him.
you do,
I don't.
right?
I don't know where he is. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know why the fuck he would be gone. He was in that bed when I went to sleep, and then when I got up, he was gone. I was freaking out, screaming, yelling, crying, calling the ambulance, searching the house.
As many times as you repeat that story, it doesn't make it true,
But
right?
it is true.
It's not true,
It is.
right? And you talk about how much you love your
I
kids.
do. I love them all, but that is true.
And you want to help us find Quentin.
Yes.
And you can do that,
And I'm trying.
right?
I'm trying, which is why I get my phone, which is why I've been as cooperative as I have been. I do not know where my baby is. And I wish I did, because he'd be right here.
Right.
He really would.
And if you
And I'm
really,
getting,
if you really
I'm
want to
getting
know,
angry right now because I did not do anything with my child.
if you really want to help us find Quentin, help me keep that promise with you. Tell us where he's at.
I've told y'all everything. Y'all
You
have.
want to keep that promise with
Yes,
him,
I
right?
have. Yeah, I'm keeping it because I've told y'all everything. I even gave y'all the only thing I had to track every single place that I've gone to. Every single place. For months I showed y'all where I went to.
Months.
Yeah, on that Life 360.
Oh, 360.
Yes, it shows my route.
We're concerned about.
It shows my stops. I did not do anything with that child. He was in that bed when I went to bed.
We're concerned about that night, okay? Because of inconsistency with your story and evidence that shows otherwise, including the interview with Misty. You can say you talked to her all day long, but that is not true.
It is.
It's true you went into the trailer park, so we have videos of that
It's
stuff.
true that I got the ordeal from her because I have the ordeal in the closet.
It's true that you parked in the trailer park.
I stopped for 2 seconds to get the ordeal.
You said 2 minutes.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was gone for a total of 12 minutes from the house.
Right, and you stopped in front of the dumpster.
No.
Yes.
They already stopped next to it.
No.
I had to stop in front of it. That was the front of the neighborhood. Right there is the front of the neighborhood.
Okay.
I don't know where my baby is.
Okay. So, we're putting together bits and pieces from what you originally told us with the evidence we've collected so far.
I don't know where he is.
You know where Quentin
I
is.
do
And
not.
you know what happened.
I do not. I do not. I really do not know what happened to him.
Right?
He was in that bed when I went to sleep. I woke up devastated and I had a child there. He's normally the first one standing up. He's normally the first one standing up looking at you smiling when you get up in the morning.
Look, Lonnie, I can't imagine how you felt that night, right? being a mom, 3 kids, run a household, right? You're in pain, you're in an argument with Danny, I haven't been in that situation, but I think you can help me understand what that was like and what kind of got you to the point of really what happened in that house that night.
Nothing happened though.
But
Nothing happened.
Nobody thinks you're a horrible person.
Because I didn't hurt him. I didn't do anything. I didn't take him anywhere. That baby was at that house all night long. And I know.
But given circumstances, things happen, and we don't mean for them to. Okay? Doesn't make you a horrible person.
I understand that, but
It makes you a human being.
I didn't hurt him, and I don't know where he's at, and I want him home. I just want him home. I did not hurt him. I did not take him nowhere. The last time he was in that car was when I picked him up at 4:30 in the afternoon.
And as a mother, going through this, like I said, sometimes things happen and we don't mean for them to. It doesn't mean anything was done intentionally. But like I said, you were going through a lot that night.
I didn't hurt my baby.
Okay.
I don't know where he is.
And
That's
being
my
in that situation, sometimes people panic.
That is my final answer to y'all's question. I did not hurt him. I do not know where he was. And the last person that told me that he 100% seen him in that bed when I called him and asked him where Quinn was Danny. That's my last thing I've got to say. Their story has not changed. I gave out everything that I could. I've gone through this over and over and over and over and over.
And I'm trying to explain to you that there's inconsistencies in your story.
But I've showed everything.
And
Done everything. I did everything that I could.
it doesn't add up. It really doesn't.
It's because there's a piece of the puzzle missing, but it's not me.
It's you.
It's not.
It's absolutely.
It is not me.
It is absolutely.
No.
And you can repeat that over and over and over again. It doesn't make it true.
It's not me. It's not me. I did not do everything with my baby. I put him in the bed. I sat out his clothes for the next morning. I didn't do anything to him.
I want to help tell your story. Like I said, you're not a horrible person. You have 3 kids. You obviously love them. You talk about bathing them that night, playing with them, putting them to bed. That shows a caring mother.
I didn't do anything to my baby. And if I did, just like I told my mother, y'all would have already had him. And I would already be behind bars myself. But I didn't do anything to that child. I only questioned. Are you sure that you shut that door? Are you sure that you shut it all the way? If you don't shut it all the way, the thing would just stop coming.
Right.
I don't know. You gotta push it really hard. I was loopy on my medication. Loopy as hell. I had to use Life 360 just to make sure that my times were right about when I left the house and got home.
Right. And that helps set up a timeline. But like I said, you're not being 100% completely honest with us. And I want to help Leilani tell her story about what happened, right? When we have circumstances like this, sometimes things happen. We don't mean them to. Doesn't make us a bad person. But this has been in the news a lot, right?
It's been all over.
I've
been harassed at the hospital about it. Got people up in my face yelling at me.
And what did they say at the hospital?
But they say, you're not worthy of being a mother. If anything should have happened to anybody, it should have happened to you.
Right. So
I saw that, I said, I agree.
let me tell you about. Let me go over that with you, okay? You have an opportunity to tell me what happened, because that's how society's going to see you. Is Leilani this monster that deliberately did this, or was Leilani just in a situation that got out of control, right? And it was out of control before she knew it, right? And there was no coming back from it.
I didn't do anything to him. I'm mad at missing piece of the puzzle, you understand? I was in that bed. Danny said he shook me. He said he checked on other kids. He said he's seen them all. That's what he told me when I called him at 9-something, screaming that I couldn't find my baby.
So here's your statement, Leilani. I read through it. And it's like a note down here. It says, please do everything possible to bring Ella Right, you can make this
If I
happen.
could, I already
You
would have.
absolutely can make
I
this happen.
can't, because I don't know where he is, and I don't know what happened to him. Do I believe that something happened that night? Yes. Was it me? No, it was not.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What was it?
I don't know. He was asleep before I left the house at all after we picked him up. He was asleep in that playpen. Then he verified that too.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So, okay, let's talk about that. Let me go grab that and I'll be right back, okay? Is that cool? Just, you brought it up, we'll talk about it, okay? Let me make sure they can look at this. Alright. So let's go over some things, okay? You keep saying, when we're talking about Quentin missing, right? You keep talking about he was there the first time he came back.
Yeah, he was there every time.
Okay. Let's talk about the second time he came back.
He was there. When I started smoking cigarette before I did, I checked on all the kids. Like, moved his hair in his face. He removed the ground blanket, told him up to it. And when I started smoking my cigarette, and I went inside, I went to bed.
And the timeline is talking about, so when you drive through the trailer park and you park, that's not in any of your statements. Your statements already went to the Chevron.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's when I was going around. I didn't think I had to explain how I pulled it out and left. That's the only reason that wasn't in there. I didn't think I had to explain how I pulled out and left. I just had to explain where I went.
Right. Well, it's completely different, right? So let's go through when you got back. What did you do?
Oh, went outside, smoked a cigarette, went to bed. That was after I checked on Ben and Zane and Scott. All three.
All three.
I checked on all three of them.
Okay, so the second time you came back, Quentin was in his playpen.
He was in his playpen.
And
He had his hair hanging out in front of his face right here. I knew that his face had rolled over, and he grabbed the blanket and was asleep.
right. And you keep mentioning that you were loopy. Why were you loopy if you're on ibuprofen?
Because they had
Because ibuprofen
they
is
injected my mouth with 3 different shots
Right.
when they gave it to me. One was to kind of sedate me, one was to numb it. I don't know what the other one was.
Okay. Well, those are all surface pain medicines, right? To get you through the surgery.
I don't know. It was
But ibuprofen doesn't make you loopy.
I was like that the medicine and everything that they had, and they had put me to work. They injected me twice with it because I was still numb. It wasn't numb.
Right. So we need to unmask what it is that happened, right? And we've got to get there.
Yes.
And you have to help me do that.
I'm helping everything I can. I did not leave my baby. He was in my bed when I went to sleep, and when I got up, he was gone. When I called Daniel and asked him, is for some reason, did you just take the put him to the babysitters, or what? Where's he at? Where's my baby? And he said, no, he was there when I left the house. I said, well, he's not here now. So he left work. I called the babysitter.
Well, we've gone over that several times, right? And that's the story you keep repeating over and over and over. And the thing about 8:59 in the morning, yeah, you probably did have that conversation with him. But we're talking about the night of Quentin going missing, right?
He was in that bed.
And what truly happened
He was in that bed.
in that house.
He was in that bed when I went to sleep. When me and my mom were sitting there trying to discuss what happened between 2:30 and 5:44 when that back door was supposedly open.
Let's talk about back door, right?
That's what I wanted. That's what me and her were confused about too.
So you're talking about, going through the night, you left about 10:30 to go to 204 to get $20 or pay somebody $20. Okay. And who are you paying the $20 to? Red. And what for?
For weed.
For weed.
Yeah, I would have $20 on the
Okay. And then you return back home.
Yes.
Okay. So when you return back home, that's the first time you return back home
Yes.
that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And in
I was
that.
laying on the bed watching TV. The kids were laying down. Zane had his tablet. Quentin was asleep, and Sky was fussy, but she was having a ball.
Okay. later on in the night, and you talk about your statement too, you talk about the, leaving, and I think you and Danny had an argument too at some point in time, right?
It was because of the lack of sexual attention that I was getting frustrated with, which was the whole reason why I left anyways, and came up with the reason to do it.
Okay. So you got back, so you got back up with Danny, and then you got back up at some point.
Yeah, because I couldn't get comfortable.
You couldn't get comfortable. And when you got back, I mean, take me through, and in general, I don't need times or anything like that, just in general.
I was uncomfortable. I was laying there for a little while. It was like almost 2 hours. I was laying there and I couldn't get to sleep because my ear was just hurting. But I got contact with getting a word gel. At first I called Circle K. They didn't have any word gel. So that's why I got in contact with her. Came out there, rode up the road, pulled in, put in the neighborhood, got it, went around, left.
Okay.
And I went home. And I went home and when I was outside the front door, smoked a cigarette, shut the door, went to bed.
Okay, so the second time you came home,
And I did check on Quentin before. I went outside all 3 of them because it's hard not to. The door's right here, here's Quentin, here's Scott, and here's Zane.
so you're back home, and then, after you got back home, around 2 o'clock, the dining room door opened and closed again. Is that what you're talking about, the cigarette?
No, my cigarettes, I got home at like 1:25. I was home before 2. I was laying down before 2 o'clock. So I went outside, smoked a cigarette, came back in, and I didn't know anything about that door. Danny didn't say anything about it either until the officers or whatever came. And they said that door was open from 2:30 in the morning to 5:44. I was asleep. And 5:44 was when Danny left the house for work. He said that the door wasn't even open when he left.
Okay. So it says dining room sensor left open.
Yeah.
Okay, that could mean the door's not completely just shut off. It's not that it's wide open, it's just that it may not be locked.
He said that it was locked.
It was locked.
Like it didn't show it wasn't open.
Okay, so the second time you came back, you saw Quentin.
Yes, he was laying in that
And
bed.
describe Quentin for me.
He was laying there. At first it was like this. He has hair. He's got curly hair hanging all over his eyes. So when I moved out his leg, he would roll it over, grab his leg, and went to sleep. Right back to sleep.
And you talked a couple times about the color of his skin.
Yes, his little cheeks, they're red, like a pink red.
Pink?
Yeah,
Are they
pink red.
normally pink?
Yeah, he normally has some type of colors on.
Okay.
Normally, he's just an active child. And the way he was sleeping or whatever, the playpen, I was thinking maybe it was pushing up against his cheeks. But he was fine. He was moving, breathing. He rolled over. His little cheeks, it's just like he was sleeping good, you know? He was just fine. Woke up and wasn't there.
And you talked about how you could see like something could happen like this. Why would you think that? Like sometimes in these situations, people blame themselves, right?
I blame myself because what if I didn't shut that door all the way?
Right. I'm not talking about the door, I'm talking about Quentin, right?
Yeah.
Something happened to Quentin,
But I didn't do it.
right? But you agree, something happened.
Everybody agrees something happened
And
to
we
them.
have to
But we have to figure out what, and I'm not
Right.
the one who is what.
You are part of it,
I
right?
know
Because you're in the
I'm part
house.
of it, but I'm not the one who did anything to him.
Right.
I did not take him anywhere.
Right.
I didn't do anything. And then he was
Listen,
asleep
I
when I went to bed.
understand you getting emotional. When we start talking about getting down to really what happened, when you start getting really, really emotional, I get it, right? There's a lot, Leilani, you're holding on to, and that's gotta be hard.
I'm not
Right.
the only thing.
But Leilani, you're holding on to so much right now.
I'm not holding on to
And
anything. I've been open about everything.
you're holding on to so much right now, and I don't know how you're doing that. Like I said, I want you to help me understand where you were at that night, right? And how we got to this point, right?
I
And
said everything I could. I cannot tell you what happened while I was asleep. I don't know.
this didn't happen while you were asleep.
It has to. He was
And
there when I went to bed.
you can't get loopy off ibuprofen.
That wasn't the ibuprofen. It was whatever they injected my mouth with.
Okay.
It's whatever that was. It wasn't the ibuprofen. It's whatever they injected my mouth with. Okay? Which is why I couldn't even drive home from getting
so we're talking that was like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so now we're talking about
It's later at night, I'm tired, I'm
very,
getting
a
sore.
lot of hours later, right?
Yeah, I'm tired,
Where
it's
that
getting
medication
sore now.
has worn off and
And I go to lay down, I was tired too. It was the night before, I was up all night, went to the hospital because of pain. Yeah. Before I went and got the tooth removed.
so in these situations, and I already told you this, people get in these situations and they don't make the things happen, but sometimes it does. Bad things do happen, and sometimes sometimes bad things happen to people that are the sweetest and nicest people, right?
I didn't do
And
anything to cause my baby to go missing.
right, and you keep saying that over and over and over, and I get as a human being, right, that we don't want to be responsible for something.
I'm not responsible for what happened to him.
Especially for, our own child, right? But if we can't protect them then, right, we got to protect them now. And like I said, I want to keep your promise. You said, you want to find them, right? Help me help you.
I'm helping.
Like, help me help you keep that promise.
I'm giving everything that I can, everything that I'm recalling, everything. I'm giving you what I can. I was even the last one. He said to me that he was the last one who seen him, which is why I was 100% certain that he was there
So
when
you
he
had-
left. And when I got up at 9, that's why I kept thinking something happened between that 3-hour period.
And also, like, people convince themselves after they tell the story so many times, right? Because they don't want to feel the guilt. And look, I know you feel the guilt. Because every time we get close to talking about that timeline where you were at, that's where you get the most emotional.
It's not.
And that's where we, that's where,
That
no,
emotion
that's
is
where
being
we,
accused of doing
That's where
something
we-
to my own child. That's the emotion.
right.
I didn't do anything to my own baby.
Now, did that interview come to an end shortly after what we just watched there?
Yes, it did.
Thank you.